Today we are on lesson 159, page 287, so go ahead and turn in your textbook there. And if you have a calculator, you'll need that again today. This lesson is called Repeating Decimals, and I mentioned yesterday that there are going to be times when you're dividing the fraction and for whatever reason you continue to get a remainder. And if that remainder repeats itself over and over again, every time you divide and annex another zero and then get a remainder, every time it's the same, it's called a repeating decimal. So that's what we're going to address today. So let's take a look at the facts in the tan at the top of the page. A fraction that divides out evenly, like we did yesterday, is a terminating decimal. What does terminate mean? Well, to terminate something means you end it. So if it's a terminating decimal, it's a decimal with an ending. That's easy enough. So for example, 25 hundredths is a terminating decimal because its fraction equivalent 1/4 terminates when 1 is divided by the 4. And they give you the example there beside it. This is what we did yesterday. We're not going to redo that section. Number 2, here's the new part. A repeating decimal is a decimal that never terminates when the numerator is divided by the denominator. No matter how many zeros I annex, it's still going to keep on going, keep on having a remainder. For example, 3/10 with that bar over the top. You see that bar? That bar indicates a repeating decimal because its fraction equivalent, 1/3, has a remainder of 1 every time when the 1 is divided by the 3, no matter how many zeros are annexed to the numerator. And they show you the example to the right. 1 divided by 3, they annexed the decimal and the 0. They started dividing it. 3 goes into 10 3 times. They did the shortcut way. 3 times 3 is 9. That leaves me 1 remainder, so I put that in front of my next annexed 0. That gives me another 3 into 10. That goes 3 times. They use the shortcut. 3 times 3 is 9. 10 minus 9 is 1. So if I annex another 0, I'm going to put a 1 in front of that. Every time I'm going to keep getting the same thing. So therefore, when I write my answer, 1/3, and they show the decimal 3 ... Well, what does ... mean? That's an ellipsis. It means it keeps going. So the correct way to write that is a 0.3 with a bar over the top of the 3. And you put the bar over top of whatever the repeating part is, because sometimes you'll have 2 digits that repeat. Like maybe it'll be 0.1515151515, or maybe it'll be 3 digits that repeat. So we'll get to ones like that as you get a little bit older. Look at number 3. 3 dots following a decimal is one way to indicate a repeating decimal. A line over the digits that repeat is another way to show that the decimal repeats rather than terminates. For example, the decimal equivalent of 5/6 is the repeating decimal, 0.83. So it goes in that 0.8 to start with, and then after that place is divided, you're going to get the repeating 3s. The 8's not repeating, just 3s. So therefore, when I write it, I'm going to put that bar over just the 3s. So notice that the line is drawn over the 3 only because only the 3 repeats. Now yesterday I asked you to memorize the chart on page 285 that shows common fraction to decimal equivalents. 1/2 is 0.5, 1/4 is 0.25, and it ends with 7/8 is 0.875. Well, there's another chart given to you on page 287 that are repeating decimals, and you need to memorize those as well. You will have a quiz on those 2 charts tomorrow, but you can use your calculator, so that shouldn't be too hard. Okay, let's take a look at the class practice. We're going to complete all of number 1 together and talk about number 2, and then you're going to do numbers 3, 4, 5, and 6 for your practice today, review practice. Okay, so starting with number 1, we have 1/9 for the 1A. divided by 9. So 1 divided by 9. 9 can't go into 1, so right away I'm going to annex my decimal and my 0, and 9 goes into 10 once. I'm going to use the shortcut. 1 times 9 is 9. That's going to give me a remainder, so I'm going to annex another 0 and stick my little remainder in front of that 0 that I annexed. Now 9 goes into 10 once. 1 times 9 is 9. I'm going to have one remainder again. So already I see that I have a repeating decimal. So when I write my answer, I'm going to write 0.1 with a bar over it. All right, let's look at letter B. Letter B says 2/9. Okay, so that's 2 divided by 9. 9 can't go into 2, so again I'm going to annex my decimal and my first 0. 9 into 20 goes twice. 2 times 9 is 18. I have 2 remainders, so let's annex another 0 and put the 2 in front of it. I can already see a pattern because this is 2020 already. So I'm going to 9 into 20, 2. Okay, I have a repeating decimal of 0.2. Now, science would say you need to do it 3 times to be sure. Science and math go hand in hand. Because of the shortened time period that we have for math, we're going to cut it short because I already know these are repeating decimals. Okay, let's try some using the calculator. So we're on number 1C, 4/9. So I'm going to put it up here, 4/9 equals. So here I go. Oh, let's find the calculator first. 4 divided by 9 equals, repeating decimal. So what am I going to write? Am I going to write all of those 4s? No, just one of them because it repeats. So my answer, 0.4. You might notice a pattern here with the denominator 9. The numerator is what was repeating. Hopefully you noticed that one here. Okay, let's look at D. And D says 5/9. Some of you are already saying, well, that has to be, okay, let's double check. Oh, this is neat. If you turn your calculator sideways, it'll keep going more digits. It's a lot of 4s. Okay. So 5 divided by 9 equals. We definitely see that our pattern is holding true. Excuse me. What about E? 7/9. Do I need to divide this one? No. It's going to be a 0.7 with a bar over it. And what about F? F is 8/9. What do you think this answer is? Yep. Let's do that so you can see that. Okay. Moving on to number 2. It says mark under the incorrect fraction and decimal pairs. So for letter A, it's 3/4 equals 75/100. Hopefully you are remembering that already from that chart yesterday because I asked you in yesterday's instructions to study that chart so that you'd be ready for the quiz tomorrow. And that one definitely is on that chart. So we're not going to mark under that circle. A should be blank. B, 1/6 equals 0.133. Do I see 1/6 on my charts? Yes, I do. Look up above and you'll see 1/6, and it should equal 0.1666666 or 0.16 with the bar over it. The 6 has the bar. So is that what it says in letter B? No. So I'm going to fill in the circle for B. C says 2/3 equals 0.6. So I'm going to look up at my chart. 2/3 equals 0.6 ... That means that the 6 is what gets repeated. So I'm going to write it as 0.6 with a bar over it. Is that what they've written for letter C? No, because they left off the bar. So therefore, you do need to mark under that circle because that is not the equivalent. All right, letter D, 1/3 equals 0.3 with a bar over it. Look up in my chart, And I see that that is the correct answer, so I'm going to leave that one blank. How about letter E? 2/5 equals 0.4. Well, it's not in this chart up above. Let's check on this page. And if you see 2/5 equals 0.4, yes, then I'm going to leave that one blank. So in that first line, I marked under the circles for B and C, or I marked the circles for B and C. Okay. If you're not sure of one and it's not in either chart, divide it. Just divide it. You'll be fine. And you'll know for sure if that is the equivalent or not. If all else fails, you can still divide it longhand, okay? If you need to go back and watch the video again to figure out how to do that. Now remember, you're doing numbers 3, 4, 5, 6 for your practice, and that's your rounding. Make sure you round to the proper place. Make sure that you keep everything that was in front of the decimal point. Make sure that your answer, when you read it, is giving the name of the decimal place you were told to round to. So you'll turn in a picture of just page 288. You won't need to turn in the picture for number 3.